नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धे भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम नमस्ते नमस्ते रुचि जी नमस्ते मनीषा जी so as usual we need to form a
Namaste,
link. Namaste. Yes, so sorry there was one delay, 1 day's break. I was traveling. Yes. Can anybody recollect anything that we saw last? It is essential to form the link so we can go ahead. Yes, please. Anybody? Yes. If you can remember something, so we can form a link and move ahead. Namaste. Yes, Renuji. Hari Om. Can you remember what we saw last? Anything? Just a link so we can proceed. Yes. Yes, any point. It need not be everything also, but we have to establish the link. Yes, please. Anybody? Yes, please, Renuji. Yes, Renuji, were you saying it or anybody? Yes, please. We have to start. So without the link, we cannot go ahead. I guess we've had a long break, 3 days. But anything, we are in 8th Adhyay. What did we see in the 8th Adhyay? Hint is to be given. Adi Yajnam, Adi Devam, Adi Bhutam. Some questions were asked by Arjuna. Yes, please. I think we have to establish the link, otherwise we cannot begin. So anything you remember? Or I hope it was not so forgetful what I was saying. It was not worth remembering.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Manisha ji. Yes, please.
In the eighth Adhyay, we learnt about the Prakriti and the Brahman.
Okay.
Prakriti being perishable, however, Brahman is eternal. And
Ji.
about the sacrifice, how the divine sacrifices himself for the existence of the mortal beings. He being the limitless comes to a limited space, and the
Okay.
one who is all powerful, he chooses to become limited or weak through his sacrifice. Ekoham Bahuswami. And
Okay.
about the devotion, consecration, and concentration and consecration, that all the every action can be offered to the divine, can be an aradhana, and if it is done consciously, and thereafter we learned about the meditation, the bhakti which will be um, which can be the fuel for the journey by meditating, focusing between the eyebrows,
Okay.
and at the end, Sri Krishna said that I'll pass on the knowledge of the Vedas to you, which will help you overcome the fear of death.
Okay.
This is last. This is what we learned at the end.
So, Manisha ji. Indeed. Yes. Thank you. So the eighth Adhyay began, it began with a transformation. Biggest transformation was in Arjuna only. Arjuna transformed from what we call a skeptic to a sadhak. His questions, instead of Krishna, how can I believe you? What is the logic behind it? Or I don't understand, or I don't agree. Krishna, don't confuse me, say one thing clearly. Instead of these dialogues, suddenly we see the question of death, because Arjuna is in a field of death only. Death is all around him. He suddenly said, Krishna, you said about Prayana Kala, the last moment. Nobody knows whose last moment comes when. And Arjuna suddenly feels, what is this? And he says, what is this Adi Agnya? And he asks a question for the first time, acknowledging that there is some divinity inside of Krishna. He says, how can I understand you completely? How can I get to know you? What is this yajna? What is this sacrifice? How is it practical? Means, what do you mean by divine made a sacrifice? How did it come to manifest? In Krishna says, it was that consciousness from the infinite, the formation of something that was finite, is strong. Why did a strong consciously choose to become weak? Establish limitations of Prakriti. And Arjuna is slowly introduced. And Krishna says, if you have the Smaran, that is something called a Chetana, a consciousness. Many people, they remember the divine or think of the divine and find strength. They find strength. Where is it coming from? What is it coming from? That we don't understand, but suddenly they are able to access some strength, which sometimes appears beyond what we can call our ordinary, sometimes extraordinary strength manifest. And Krishna says, well, in this Prayana Kala, if you think of the divine, then even in the last moment, he says, you will not have fear. Your consciousness will take you near. Near to whom? Near to the divine. There are reams, there are directions, there are movements. We saw about koshas being shed by the body as the soul moves ahead. But the problem was nobody knows when is the prayana kala. And I think there was Chaitanya ji in our group who shared a simple solution. What do we do? Is it a catch-22 situation? We don't know the last moment, and Krishna is telling us, remember in last moment. Well, he said it's so simple if you remember all moments at all times. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuddha cha. Arjuna, face your battles without fear, without anything else. Just remember me while you are battling it out at all times, at all moments. Have no fear. He talks about concentration, consecration, and devotion. Consecration is converting all your actions towards a divine action as an offering to the divine. What do we offer? We offer only that which is best. We don't offer something which is incomplete. And that is what Adi Shankaracharya had also talked about. Yad karma karomi tadakhilam shambho tavaradhanam. Each karma of mine, O Shambho, is an aradhana for you. And that is how Krishna is talking about. He says, even Kavim Puranam Manusasitaram, the great Kavis also are confused with the truth of the Brahman. They're able to not understand how great the divine is, the brilliance, the refulgence, the glory. Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. It is said to be what we can say golden, hued like the sun. That is the light. We saw about some experiences of some people also. One doctor's end near death experience where she had shared in a previous batch about seeing that brilliant light. Well, Krishna says, we stopped at 10th shloka. He says, there is something about this point, which is the brewer madhye, focusing at that point, very much like the two meditation techniques which were introduced by Krishna in the previous adhyayas. He says, if you are able to focus and raise your consciousness, do not worry, you will come to me, is what he says. And then we stop to the 11th shloka. Right? He says, I shall teach you that knowledge of the Vedas, which people spend their entire life in brahmacharya and tapasya to receive some knowledge. I will give that to you. My question is, why Arjuna? Anybody? And quickly move ahead with the 12th shloka. 12th onwards, we'll start. Why was it Arjuna? Tapasya has been done for so many years. They say one tapa equal to 12 years. People do tapa for two tapa, three tapa also. The same knowledge which is understood, which is realized by this tapa, the same which people sometimes remain celibate trying to continuously understand that knowledge. I shall share that to you, is what Krishna is saying. They have also looked at it once prior, before, but once more, just to realize why was Arjuna eligible for this? Was he great? Too great compared to everybody else? What was that factor? Yes, please. Anybody? And we'll move on.
Because
Yes,
he asked.
Okay, because he asked. Okay, that's that's simple. Yes, sir. So because he asked, only who seeks
And he
can
was
find. Yeah.
he was
Manisha
he
ji
was
said.
sin- he was sincere.
All right, he was sincere. Okay. Aditi ji, you were saying something, is it? Were you? You've unmuted?
Sorry.
No, I thought you unmuted. So do you want to
Yeah,
share some?
yeah,
Okay.
because he had that conscience.
Okay, he had that conscience. And one beautiful line Krishna says in the Gita, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. You are my bhakta and you are my sakha. Sakha. Sakha is friendship, Maitri Bhava. You have been always close to me. You have love and adoration for me. So I will part is what Krishna says. So one aspect which makes Arjuna greater than the greatest tapasvi, greater than the greatest jnani, greater than the greatest karma yogi is his bhakti is what we see in the Gita. So let us continue. And Krishna now is talking about the yogis. We saw about the prayana kala and last moments of different types of people. Those who are attached always in their last minutes also they have attachments only. But the yogis, they are conscious. We saw Pitama Bhishma knew something. He knew something that he had to wait. He had to wait for what we call Uttarayana. And interestingly, we were discussing the same Uttarayana and Dakshina right at the time when the transition also was taking place. So let us see now. Sarvadvarani Sanyamya Manorudhi Niruddha cha Murni Adhyatmanah Pranam Asthito Yoga Dharanam. So the yogis, they are able to focus with all their sensory doors of the being closed, the mind into the heart shut and firmly enclosed, focusing the life force of the body, raising it up to the head. Meditate upon attaining the union with the Supreme Godhead. The yogis are all dwaras, nava dwaras are closed. The body is called a temple of 9 gates. What happens when the gate is open? Well, they say Krishna runs away. So the yogi says, no, I'll not allow Krishna to run away. He will remain inside. I will keep him. So these yogis are able to shut all other external stimuli, focus in meditation, raise their consciousness, mind and heart. Most of the battles in life are between mind and heart. My mind thinks one thing, heart thinks another thing. Unfortunately, tongue thinks a third thing and speaks what is not in the mind and heart also. But yogi doesn't have that problem. All have become one. They are in yoga. There's no dvandva. The fight has ended. And they are calm and peaceful. They're able to focus and raise consciousness up to the head, is what Krishna is saying. What they call sahasrara. There also, the level of consciousness is increased. And meditate upon the union with the Supreme Godhead. He goes on further. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyavahara vya Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam manusmaran yah prayati yajan deham sayati paramam gatim. By chanting Om, the singular syllable, the vibration of the primordial truth, imperishable, remembering the overlord when the body he leaves behind, the highest status of the Supreme, he does find. So at that moment, these yogis have understood my next journey is going to take place. So they're having that smaran of Om. Om is what? The Brahmanad. Om is that primordial vibration. That vibration is something which is very special. And Krishna says slowly when these yogis concentrate, they go to that path. We saw about the experience of a late Kamalaji who was in a previous batch during the COVID times, but she talked about her grandmother. Her grandmother did not get the chance to visit all the sacred places because she was in the house doing different works, but she was a very pious lady. And on Vaikuntha Ekadashi day, she actually told her small child, granddaughter, that my Vimana has come, and then went ahead. It was a shock. It was shock. And when she was narrating live, we were all very surprised. What is she saying? But how is it possible? Well, Sant Tukaram has also talked about Vimana. This Vimana, what is this? Is this some metaphysical thing? Is something which we don't fully understand. But this much is true. If you're having consciousness, like we said, the consciousness is a force. We talked about rockets trying to escape the orbit of the Earth with what we once they reach that kind of velocity, which is beyond the escape velocity. Dr. Abdul Kalam talked about his next orbit, which he wants to go. He said, I am going to go into the next orbit. What is that next orbit? Was he talking about some rocket? Not at all. He was talking about something else. His last book is actually interestingly about his spiritual experiences with Pramukh Swami Maharaj, Transcendence. That is the name of his last final book, only about his spiritual experiences. And when we understand something sthula like what we can say, heavy payload rockets can be sent out of the atmosphere of the Earth. What about the Atman or Jivatman, whatever name we are trying to call? There is something inside, isn't it? Which leaves the body. Where does it go? And we also saw the rotation of the Earth plays an important role when launches of rockets are being done. What is the tilt? What is the angle of tilt? What are the forces which are aiding? What are the forces which are they try to create minimum least resistance so that the trajectory is perfect. Something the yogis are also understanding, and that is why they are focusing that way. Krishna goes on. He says, Ananya sadatam yo mam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginaha. He who practices yoga with an undeviated mind, striving to merge his consciousness with me, him you will find, in whose memory my remembrance never does cease. He, O Arjuna, can attain the union in me with ease. The Smaran is sufficient. The one who is in a Nitya Smarana, he doesn't have to worry about it. It's not unknown consciousness which he is looking at. He is already aware. He's got some familiarity. And there's no fear of the unknown right now because he has started getting experiences. His Chetana is actually consciousness is a force. And this force of consciousness is everywhere, isn't it, in the world? From the atomic level also to the macroscopic level, everywhere the forces are at play continuously. What is holding together the subatomic particles inside? What is giving them a pattern? Some force is driving them, and the same thing is in the ant, the same thing is in the elephant. And Krishna is saying, yes, that person in whose smaran the divine's remembrance is there, he can easily attain that oneness. Krishna goes on, the 15th shloka, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalaya mashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha sansiddhim paramam gatim. These liberated souls, after having come to my door, descend not into the mortal birth once more, and return not to the mortal world transient and full of pain. The highest state of perfection they verily gain. So, Krishna is saying this person, we have also seen earlier, isn't it, of reaching a consciousness from which there is no descent. Yogis, they go to a point from which they do not return. In real life, we talked about some practical examples. Is when we get experience, we don't make the same mistakes again, isn't it? I have got this experience. I've got probably my hand burnt because of that experience, and I've decided, no, I don't want that. I have decided, yes, Manasarovar is my home. I'm not going to remain in the cage. But that realization comes, then the bird will fly towards Manasarovar only, isn't it? I will eat my own food. I don't need morsels of pity thrown at me from somebody else. This realization comes, and many times people are otherwise trapped in action, reaction, desires. Desires are not getting complete, but a yogi is free from all of it. And Krishna here talks about that even the aspect of punarjanma, we do not know, isn't it? What happens afterwards? We only know what was before, we know what is now. We don't know what is going to happen afterwards. But Krishna is saying something about it. He says, these souls, after having come to my door, descend not into the mortal birth once more. They are not once more into that world of suffering and slowly reach that higher state of consciousness. We saw about yogis and suffering also, isn't it? In life also. Do yogis suffer? Anybody? No. Okay. Alti is saying something.
Yes, they can,
They can. Okay.
but they can manage it better.
Yeah, we actually had in a previous session a discussion about the suffering and pain. Pain is experienced by all of us, isn't it? Universal language. I experience pain, you experience pain, mental, physical, emotional, X, Y, Z. So many types of pain are there. What the yogi has learnt is I will detach from the pain, so is not attaching to it, so suffering does not take place. This is Santushtam Satatam Yogi at all times. Ramana Maharshi had intense physical pain and he knew how to detach that, and so much so that he said, don't give me anesthesia. He was operated without anesthesia, an operation which is very painful. The doctor was only shaking, how will I do this operation on such a person, such a reverend soul, such an elderly person? I can't do this operation. But he said, don't worry. The patient is telling the doctor. And the operation was done without anesthesia. How? Did he not feel pain? Of course, he felt pain. Every human being feels pain. Yogi has gone one step ahead, learning to detach from the pain. And earlier, Krishna was telling Arjuna, become a yogi so you can enter into the battle, not so that you go into the Himalayas only. Krishna wanted Arjuna to take part in the battle, and he said, Tasmad yogi Arjuna. Become. How will you become? By connecting with the divine. Krishna goes on, he says, A Brahma Bhuvana Lokaha Punaravartya Norjuna Mamupetya tu Kaunteya Punarjanma na Vidyate. Even all the beings of Brahma's most perfect planet and all other worlds are to rebirth subject, but the souls that seek refuge in me alone find release, and their cycles of endless births and deaths then cease. Krishna says now of another loka. There's a theory in I think physics also. Theoretical physics talk about parallel universes. They're happening. There are planes of consciousness which are different, which are having a interconnection. A very young 19-year-old astrophysicist loved this chapter so much because he said I could only see so many physics correlations here. One of them was this. He said there are parallel. I understand this. I have read about it, and I believe strongly. I understand that there is a possible high possibility of these parallel planes existing together. And I said, do these planes influence each other? He said, yes, these planes have an influence, a point of link. They called it a wormhole, he said. Well, we called it Krishna. And these planes are connected. The sutra is one, Sutre Manigana Eva. And that Krishna Sutra is connecting everybody. But Krishna says, even in Brahma's plane, which is said to be the exalted plane of high conscious beings, they too go through this cycle of Punarapi Janama, Punarapi Marana. But those souls who have come to that highest consciousness, Krishna says, their endless births this, and death cycles get over. Krishna goes on, he says, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Arhyat Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. Krishna is talking about a Brahma's night and human being's night being completely different. Time moving at different speed at different planes. Is this logically possible? Time is time, isn't it? Kalaya tasmai namaha. Kala moves at one time only. How can it move at a different pace? Anybody agrees to this? Time can move at a different speed at different place. Yes? Anyone? Possibility? For our understanding?
Yes, if the consciousness is different, if the intelligence level of intellect is different. For
Okay.
example, as per my understanding goes, a person who's low in IQ will take longer time, or a person who's intelligent would take
Okay, even in
faster.
efficiency, you are looking at that perspective, isn't it, Manisha ji?
Yes, sir.
Acha, so from the efficiency, but the time is like it is 9 o'clock for the person here, other person also it's 9 o'clock, isn't it? Can there be time moving at two different? Is it just a linear scale or a non-linear is possible? Yes, Renuji is adding something, Aditya ji is also adding. All right, Renuji and then Aditya ji. Yes, please.
I have a feeling that time is a concept, and
Okay.
when one is hale and hearty, physically well, then that person feels that the time is flying away, it's fleeting away.
Okay.
But
Theory
once
of
you are
relativity.
yes, and once you are not in a good physical and mental condition, you feel that you are stuck somewhere. The
Acha.
time is very slow. So that is
Okay.
conceptual. That is my perception.
Okay. All right, Renuji. And it was one nice one author, Paulo Coelho, has written, time is a man-made concept. So that was something very interesting. But yes, Aditi ji is adding something. Yes. Yes, ji.
Like scientifically, we know about theory of relativity. So
Yeah. Yeah. And in space, time travels differently compared to time on Earth.
yes, time-space continuum.
There's a dilation. No, time dilation takes place, so time moves at a different pace on that. It is not hearsay or some religious belief, isn't it? It's a scientific fact, established fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So science also understands this possibility of time moving at a different pace. Means we know as when we are in Bhuloka, we are in Prithvi Loka, we only understand our time. कि चलो, some people say time cut ही नहीं रहा है. It's not moving. But it is. But elsewhere it can have a different rate. That is what is being shared in this Loka. Even in the Brahma, yeah, what was it? Yes, the 17th one. Krishna said, he who has the eternal Brahma's insight knows the duration of his cosmic day and night, the day of a cosmic Brahma's cosmic day and cosmic night. Each single day and night of Brahma's lifespan equals a yuga for man. You see, one night of Brahma, one day of Brahma is equal to a yuga. In one yuga, how many births are there for an individual? Krishna told, isn't it, Arjuna, the difference between you and me is the same, only one difference. You too have taken many births, I too have taken many births. Only you are not conscious of it, I am conscious. That is separating you and me. But how many births take place in a yuga of an individual? N number of births, isn't it? So now, how do we relate to it? Can we say, because many people say God is heartless, God is heartless, not intervening at all in man's life. It feels like that, isn't it? God is heartless at times. Why? How did this? Swami Vivekananda had asked this question, Agar tum ho to ye kyun hai? Watching the famine, people dying. Yes, Aditi ji is saying something. Yes, ji.
No, no. Yes. Sorry, what is your question?
Is God heartless? Do we feel that God is heartless sometimes?
Yes.
Yes, isn't it? All right, all right. So let us continue now. This thing about anybody knows this? You must have seen, isn't it? During rainy season, in the night times, you keep the tube light on, window open, lots of insects flood inside. Yes, they have big, what do you call them? Rain insects or rain flies or whatever names are called. Anybody has experienced that? How many insects come in the house if your window is open? Anybody?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, of course.
Lots. Okay. Means maybe like hundreds or maybe even if you keep it longer, you might even have 1,000 insects inside of one room, isn't it?
Mm.
All attracted to that light. Suddenly they come. And what is their lifespan?
Days. Just,
Days or hours?
yeah, it can be hours also.
Hours, isn't it? It's in hours. And suddenly, it means for us, we have such a big lifespan. And for the insects, it's we don't even bother, isn't it? How many of these insects has anybody tried counting how many have died inside of the house, inside of the room? No. There are so many we don't count. What do? We take a broom and we sweep them away. Just like that, clean sweeping. When I went to the factory, I was surprised they were collecting it. When I asked why, they said they make a very good pickle. I was shocked. In the village, people eat that. But see, for them, that is the food. And somebody would do a nutritional analysis and say that might actually have some nutrients. I don't know. I may not try it. It's a personal choice. But the question is, so many deaths are taking place. We cannot give life to an ant also, isn't it? The life form, man, despite all his technology, can he breathe life into an ant? Forget human being. No. And that life is the life only, isn't it? Life of human being or life of ant. It is life. Now, so many deaths have taken place inside of our room. And all we are bothered is, how does this room look? I need to clean it up. Are we so heartless? Aren't we all heartless then? Or we are not heartless? Is my question.
We are
Yes.
heart.
Yes, Manish, who's saying that first? Oh, Ramesh ji. Yes, sir.
We
Yes,
are
sir.
heart system because we are just trying to only clear the dead organism.
Okay, that way we are heartless. But practically we do feel, isn't it? We feel, we have emotions, we care for our loved ones, all of it. Only significance, if you see, for the insect, it is a lifespan. For us, it is a few hours. A few hours in a long lifespan doesn't make a difference for us. Because our picture is for the yes, Karthik ji is adding something. Yes, sir.
Um, yes, we are heartless, but I also think it's because there is no
Point.
attachment.
There's no attachment.
There's no
There's no
attachment,
attachment.
so you don't feel loss.
In our life's grander picture or bigger picture, this passing away of so many insects is not making a difference, isn't it?
Correct.
But that does
So,
not make us cruel and heartless at all.
correct.
It's just that when we are not, because in our life, if we look at it now as a poet, we may start composing poetry for each of the insect that has fallen also. As a poet, I would might write, oh, this wing was different, what a beautiful life, and all whatever I want to, because now I have become conscious only, but it is just a small thing, isn't it? In comparison to a big life, in a complete life, so many hours, 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year, and 100 such years is the lifespan of man. So, in such a big lifespan, this is a small event which we may call insignificant, but for the creature, for the living being, it is a full lifespan. The entire life is taken place. So that is what from the Brahma's view, which is a larger view, it is a view of an entire yoga. Who knows, today we are falling down. The higher consciousness might be knowing why exactly we are falling, or maybe why it's necessary to fall, so another rise will happen. And so many such, Krishna says, no, I can see past, birth, present, future also. Who knows what is that karmic baggage we are inheriting and what is the role ahead? But this is the way, is what Krishna is saying. A yogi is able to understand the higher picture, is able to understand the difference in Brahma's day and the day of an ordinary man. There is a difference. Let us just continue. Krishna goes on. He says, Avyaktat vyaktayah sarvaha prabhavantya haragame ratragame praliyante tatraivya vyakta sanyake. On the day of the Supreme Creator, unmanifest, all creations are verily born to manifest. And for all the created beings, destruction comes when the night of Brahma Supreme becomes. So there is Srishti's Nirmana and Pralaya. Nirmana and Pralaya. This is happening. Inside of our body also Pralaya and Nirmana is happening or not? New blood cells are born, they are created, then they are destroyed continuously at all times, at all points. This continuous cycle is going on. And isn't that keeping us alive? Isn't that furthering our everyday's life? I have given my blood to somebody is the dialogue people say, but blood also changes, no, after some time. There's a cycle for the blood inside also. It's a completely new blood cells are created. So many moments of consciousness are happening, and Krishna says, well, this is it. Sometimes people say it's every day is a new birth and new beginning for me. Something like that we see here. Krishna talking about that Srishti Nirmana and Pralaya, they happen in cycles in Brahma's day and Brahma's night. भूतग्रामः स एवायं भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्य हरागमे. At the dawn of his day, take birth innumerable lives. All then disappear and die when his night finally arrives. And at the next day and the next dawn, once more living entities thrive, and the loop never ends every time night and day arrive. This is the cycle of creation and destruction. Krishna is introducing it. But he says, Parastasmat tu bhavonya avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. There is something which is sanatan, that which cannot be destroyed, which will not go through these cycles. What is sanatan? That which is eternal, that which will remain, which will not be engulfed by the flames of time. Kala also will not be able to stop that. That is Sanatan, is what Krishna is saying. He says, yet there is some existence, which is Sanatan, which is beyond the Vyakta, which is beyond the Avyakta also. Yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. But there still exists in that supreme, a divinity, an immutable and supracosmic ethereal entity whose existence can never perish, even when all living things vanish. Even when all living beings will disappear, also that existence shall remain. That existence is there. If you look at the site of Chernobyl where that nuclear explosion took place, what has happened? Prakriti has again thrived in that area, which maybe human beings cannot thrive. Now also there are big boards. Don't human beings are prevented because this is an area with radioactivity. But we see plants have taken control, taken over through concrete and everything. Plants, I think that we must have seen, isn't it? In buildings also. People trees, they just grow suddenly and then they take over. Yes, because that is there. There's a will to live, will to survive, will to thrive. This consciousness is going to manifest. And what is this consciousness? It is called Sanatan. It is that ancient one. It is the ethereal consciousness which is going to remain irrespective of everything. People will come, people will go. Even if the world were to completely, all living things would vanish, that would still remain, is what Krishna says. He goes on. Avyakto ityuktaha tamahuhu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. He is the immutable, unmanifest, it is exclaimed. Knowing him is the highest goal that can be gained. Those who attain him return not to the material realm, for they have reached his abode supreme. Tukaram said, isn't it? I went to see God. I didn't know when I became one. He reached that consciousness. Sri Aurobindo talked about that high consciousness being the next level of evolution, a race of the Superman. The higher consciousness, which maybe there might be a paradigm shift also in consciousness afterwards. Who knows, from Homo sapiens to Homo luminous, or God knows what name they will call it then. But that possibility is there, and Krishna says this. Those who attain to that higher stream, they do not return again. He goes on further. Purushaha sa paraha partha bhaktya labhastvananyaya yasyantah sthani bhutani yena sarva midam tatam. Oh Arjuna, the gnosis of the ultimate supreme one, by the purest unwavering devotion must be won. He dwells in all living beings on the earth's face and pervades all matter that exists in space. This realization, Arjuna, must be got, is what Krishna is saying. He is the one, and this realization can be won by devotion. Again, bhakti. Somehow or the other, Krishna introduces the highest knowledge. He says, Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitram na vidyate. Nothing greater than knowledge. It can burn all. The knowledge of truth can burn ignorance away, can burn karma bandhana. He even said, Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. Like a fire, inferno, burning and razing everything on its path. Like that, all ignorance disappears with knowledge. Valya becomes Rishi Valmiki. A dacoit has suddenly become the exalted Rishi with that knowledge. But again, the bhakti element has been introduced. Means after showing that, so there's a need. Can we draw a link between knowledge and bhakti? Is it there? Can we separate the two? It's just dry intellect, isn't it, if we separate it? Bhakti is going to create the ground. Bhakti is going to create the ground for reception of knowledge. Bhakti is going to create the necessary ground for us to rise beyond our perspectives, to rise beyond our mental limitation, to ascend. It's like a springboard maybe for us. It can help, and the yogis are having that in plenty. Krishna has told what knowledge comes from bhakti only. Shraddha Mayoya Purusha is what we'll see later on in the Gita. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. First is Shraddha, then knowledge will come. So that is interesting. Krishna says this knowledge must be won by devotion. It can be understood. And this same divine, who is said to be the supracosmic one, is present in each and every living being. When we get it, we will get the experience of what Sri Aurobindo got. Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Inside of the Alipur jail, he got that experience of oneness. Let us continue. He goes on further. Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginah prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharatarshapha. So Arjuna, to you I shall now declare at life's final moments how the awakened beings fare, under what conditions the yogi at the time of death they do and do not attain rebirth. Krishna says here, I will tell you now at the Prayana Kala, how does the being fare? What are the conditions for Punarjanma? What are the conditions for that moksha? Agnir Riha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Vidojanaha. In the 6 months when the solstice northern starts, by the day of fire or light, in the phase of the waxing moon who departs, the yogi, the knower of Brahma, aided by the earth's rotation, reaches the abode of Brahma, thus attaining salvation. So this is the path. For 6 months, there is this path of moksha which is opened, is what Krishna is saying. When this person departs by the day, or by ratra, or by light, in the phase of the waxing moon, means the moon is moving towards, the moon changes every night, isn't it? The waxing moon, what is the moon? The moon is growing or becoming smaller? Towards Purnima? Yes,
Yeah.
Aditi?
Yeah, it's towards Purnima.
Yes, towards Purnima, the ascending moon. So one thing is, not only the earth, the positions of the planets also are playing a role in this journey, is what Krishna is saying. In the 6 months of the northern solstice, the earth is tilted towards the sun. In those 6 months, by day, in the light, or in the jyoti of the Agni, during the period of the Purnima, as the moon is ascending towards the Purnima, the yogi is aided by the rotation of the earth. Suddenly a channel is opened, a marga is opened, and Krishna says, they reach the abode of Brahma. Pitamaha Bhishma, was he not waiting for this Uttarayana? Yes, he was aware. Probably he had enough of life. He had seen enough, experienced so many lifetimes. Said, now I want to become one with the divine. And he got this wisdom already. He had that knowledge. This is the time where I can become one. And that is why he specifically waited for that Uttarayana period. Let us continue. Krishna says, Bhumo ratris tatha Krishnaha Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandra Masam Jyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. And the 6 months when the southern solstice starts, by the night of smoke or mist, in the waning moon's face who parts, in the lunar light world the yogi enjoys, and his time spends exhausting his energies. Back to earth, he then descends. Krishna says this in the 6 months of the Dakshinayana period, by night, or in the smoke, or in the mist, or when the moon is moving towards the Amavasya, the yogi opens up, or he sees the path of the what we call lunar light world, or we can call it the Chandraloka. That marga is there. What happens there? The yogi goes and he enjoys. What does he enjoy? Experiences which were pending, experiences which have not been completed. the experiences that are yet to be taken. And after that, he comes back to earth. He comes back to the earth and again resumes his cycle. This is the way of yogi only. Both these margas are margas of the yogis. Some drops choose to become the ocean. Some choose to again let us continue the journey. We're not merging into the ocean. And this is affected by the planetary positions also, the tilt of the earth. This moment. Yes, sir. Karthik ji is having a question. Yes, sir.
Hari Om. Can you explain this again? The yogi enjoys and his time spends.
Yes, yeah. Now, for say, you have gone to trips with family or alone somewhere, Karthik ji? Yes.
Yes,
What do? You book your stay, isn't it? For how many days?
correct.
How many days? Say
Uh,
4 days, maybe because you're working and you have some works to be done which are incomplete. But how do you book it? Because of the Rashi that you have, this money that you have spent, isn't it? 3 days, 4 days. What happens even on the fourth day? I have booking only for this much. This much money only I have accumulated or I've spent or I've for this booking. So when it is over, when it is exhausted, what happens? You have to come back. Like that, yogis we saw in the last adhyay, there is no yoga bhrashta. Means the one on the yoga sadhana, even if he deviates in life from the sadhana, he has earned what we call punyai, the good accumulated.
hmm.
So that he is not yet completed the full story. Full journey is not complete. Abhi to picture baki hai. Half of the part is only over. So now he has to come back to complete it. But that period he is going to enjoy in the lunar realm. Who knows? Some yogi might have felt I have done great tapasya, but I never tasted coffee. So in the lunar lokai, for him that might be the bhog which is remaining or which is preventing his next movement. So he'll probably have in a sukshma level. This is of course in a simplified manner we're talking about it. Yes, Ji. Yes.
But in the earlier on, Krishna says those who don't have the attachments
Yes.
will be free from the cycle of
They get moksha, isn't it?
life and birth, life and
Yes.
rebirth,
Yes, that is
death
why
and
people
rebirth.
prefer. That is why people prefer, and always yogis also, they wait for that is why they consider Uttarayan to be the most auspicious period, because that is the marga for moksha. But the
Okay.
Dakshinayan is not the marga for moksha. But there's interesting one, like I have to keep recollecting Tukaram's words. Tuka mane amasi, sukhe ghalave garbhavasi. Means Tuka says, give me another birth in this womb, in the womb of this Mrityu Lok only. He's actually saying bye bye to moksha. He says, I want to come back again. Why? I can love divine better. God does not know how it is to be loved from the human perspective. So this is another choice. Some yogis say, I want to be bhakta again and again. Give me 100 cycles. No problem. Give me 1000 cycles. I will keep coming. I'll keep doing your work. That is also an approach. But these two margas, Krishna is talking about on the metaphysical aspect, the kinetics of the departing soul. And we have also seen, what about bhogis then? Do they all become pretatma? That means we'll have so many ghosts and spirits. A very famous anime series is going on nowadays in the world. It's all about these animes. It's about the ghosts which are atrupta. So what happens to everybody? No, it's not that everybody is ultimately moving towards that consciousness, but because of the baggage, because of the attachments, that movement is slow. Yogis are a little fast. Like an Olympic athlete, and the other is a runner in your gully. There's a difference, isn't it? We'll say he's very fast, but all right, in the gully he is very fast. Put him on the Olympic platform. There we'll see real supra, what we can see. So the yogi's marga is faster. All will ultimately go into that cycle. But if the story is not complete, it has to. Because this Srishti is happening according to a grand plan. We may not fully understand what is the logic behind even the avatarhood. We first look at why is it? Isn't the avatar also trapped in a cycle of birth and death? Is a question many people ask. Why is the avatar
Correct.
coming and going.
But even the yogi would not have control as to when he departs. I mean,
No. That's what we said. No, that is why we looked at Bhishma. I said the example of a
oh,
living
yes,
person,
correct.
Kusum. She was very much conscious. She did not want to keep one debt also unpaid. So she called
Correct.
all the nice people. In her 90s, she's working continuously. And she says, come, let's meet. And next day morning, she parts away. Or we saw the example of the grandmother of Kamlaji. She served everybody, all the guests she fed on Vaikuntha Ekadashi day, and with a smile told her daughter, my Vimana has come. Now, there is in this complete control. And that is what Mrityunjay is all about. Oh, I forgot to. You had asked me to send a
Yes,
mantra
yes.
meaning. Yes, I just remembered now.
Okay.
I will better send it. So it's the same thing. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanat. Like that cucumber which is ripe perfectly. It separates naturally. Slightest touch and it will become free. If you pull it, otherwise before it is ripe, it's going to hold a baggage of something, some of its past, of its incomplete, unripe baggage. So this is a cycle. These are the two margas, and Krishna is talking about how yogis fare in the last moments. That is why if you see many who are like yogis in our families and lives, they are very peaceful. They are very peaceful. If anybody had a chance to watch the last moments of anybody in their or hear about it, you will actually find that. I have myself seen very calm and peaceful, engaging in japa, nitya japa going on, and gone with a smile. One person told that her grandfather told her mother that I will go at this particular time. That he told 4 years ago, and everybody felt he was simply saying something. Oh, something he said is now very old. His thing. But afterwards, they just found the connection. How is it exactly? Was it a coincidence? How can it be a coincidence? 4 years ago. What are the odds? No, not at all. It is not at all like that. So Yogi is conscious. Bhishma was conscious, so he did not pass away. He could have, why did he have to bear all of it? He said no. So there's a choice. The yogis have a choice. We'll have to become yogis if we want to choose also. I can't say like I go to a hotel and give me one plate idli. I want moksha. Give me moksha. It will not come like that. We will have to do tapasya. We'll have to gain that yoga bala, which will allow us to choose the path. But we have some examples of some great bhaktas who are even letting go of the choice. If the divine wishes to send me again, send me again. Sri Aurobindo in his hymn to Durga says, birth after birth we come to serve you, and then go back to our abode, our home. And again we come to perform your bidding. Oh Mother Kali, give strength, give us strength to work for you. Give me that power, give me that Shakti. So this aspect is there, but these are the two margas which we talked about. Krishna calls them the Shukla Marga and the Krishna Marga. Shukla Krishne Gati Yete Jagataha Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yati Anavrittim Ananya Vartate Punaha. These are the light and dark pathways, respectively, the gods and forefathers' stairways. The souls ascending by the former earthwards do not turn, while those who ascend the latter, back to earth they return. One is the realm of the Pitars. Pitar is the ancestors, the realm of the ancestors. Pitar Loka it is called. We do so many Shraddha Kriyas, we offer on specific days, Arghya to the ancestors. Because we understand they have gone to that room, that realm. There is a realm there. So one goes to the Pitar Loka. So again, there is not a permanent one, isn't it? We come back again afterwards. Again, a Janma takes place. So that is called the Krishna Marga, the dark pathway. That is the pathway of rebirth. Another one is the Shukla Marga, or the pathway of the light. That is the path that allows a person to become one. And each soul has their own journey that we cannot decide. Maybe the yogi has a choice, but there are some who decide, let it all belong to the divine. Let the divine send me. Why should I choose when I have already surrendered everything to the divine? Will I choose my afterlife, or will that also happen according to the divine will? Let that be. That would be the best way to offer also. Krishna goes on, Nete Sruti Partha Janan Yogi Muhyati Kashana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna. Krishna says, be at all times connected. Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. Now he says, yoga yukto bhavarjuna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. At all times, be connected. Connected with what? Connected with the divine. What is the advantage? Well, I think we all connect with one network, isn't it? A divine network, or we'll not call it divine, we call it internet only. So this network, what is the advantage of it when we are connected with it? We can access something which is more than what is ours, isn't it? Seeking for information, I can connect with that network and seek. Right now, we are all connected with each other. We're able to share our experiences, share our points of views. Something like that, Krishna is saying, remain connected with the divine. Who knows, Krishna will only come and whisper in your ears, maybe a different form, but that consciousness will manifest. So many people get that experience. Recently, just where I went now for a book release, this Maji's book has been released on the 19th anniversary of her stroke. Who celebrates a stroke that is rendering you paralyzed 50%, or one arm is not able to move properly, one leg is not moving? Can anybody celebrate this? Is it possible logically to celebrate it? That is giving pain, so much pain, excruciating pain for almost 19 years of life. Who will dare celebrate it? But no, she's connected with the divine. She calls that divine the child. And look at that miracle. And everybody was surprised. Logically, how did it happen? They tried to understand it. Many were asking, how is it? Did somebody already know? I said, yes, but that somebody was not us. This Maji says it is the child. Now the question is whether you believe the child or whether you believe the magic. Many people don't believe the child, but they believe the magic. So indirectly they are able to understand that there is something beyond my understanding, something beyond my consciousness, something which is supra, what we can say, logical also. But these are the margas, Krishna tells. Believe it, Arjuna, if you want to. But right now, Arjuna has over 7 adhyayas understood Krishna, and Krishna doesn't say something just like that. There must be some truth, and Arjuna's Shraddha has started to increase here. Krishna says then further, he talks about the yogi. He says, Naite Sruti Partha, Janan Yogi Muhyati Kaschana, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu, Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. Remain connected in yoga. Receive from me the wisdom. Remain connected at all times, at all moments. The yogi who is of both paths aware is never misled and always takes care and makes no error as he dwells in my communion. Therefore, O Arjuna, engage in this science of union. This is a science. Adhyatma. Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. It is the Ati Vidya, a Vidya which is higher than all Vidyas. That does not mean science is inferior, but science also has its limitations. And Adhyatma Vidya allows us to transcend those limitations. The yogi is aware of both pathways, so he takes care. He knows which path to walk. He makes no error in choosing also. Why? He's in the yoga yukta sthiti. He's connected with the divine. Interestingly, Krishna also says, I was connected with the divine consciousness, so I was able to part this Gita to you. After the Mahabharata, when Krishna again is asked by Arjuna, Arjuna went into the flux of activity, isn't it? So much death, so many so many experiences which would disturbed his state of consciousness, which was different. After receiving the Gita, he had reached one great peace. That peace he felt was a little bit, something is missing. So he said, Krishna, please tell me the Gita once more. Krishna says, I cannot. That time I was in yoga sthiti, yoga yukta. You were also different that time. So that moment will not come again. Krishna then parts him the wisdom, but it's a different one. It's 300 shlokas, not the 700 shlokas of the Gita. Because Arjuna again is not the same Arjuna. And this yoga yukto, my Arjuna, that is what he says. That time I was in that yoga and you were receiving it correctly. Afterwards, he gets Anugita, the smaller version of the Gita. So like that, Krishna says, if you are aware, you are not going to be afraid and you're not going to make an error, which happens because of attachments, which happens because of lower consciousness. If you are connected with the higher consciousness, you will know what is right. That is knowing. That is realizing. And that's why Krishna says remain connected. He goes on, Vedeshu yagneshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanupapaiti chadyam. The last shloka of this, he says, the deeds of the merit that the Vedas have recommended, all the sacrifices, austerities, offerings and gifts charitable. These duties the yogi has verily transcended by attaining the supreme knowledge of the supreme immutable. Krishna says this, that whatever deeds that have been prescribed in the Vedas or in the Yajnas or in the great Tapa, the great Dana, all these are part of our life. We should do it. A Yajna must be done by us. What is this Yajna? Is it the ritual Homa only? Well, that you can do it, it's brilliant. But also the meaning of sacrifice. What is this sacrifice? Its inner purpose, its inner meaning. Some sacrifice must be done. Austerity. Let us practice austerity also in life. Austerity must be done. Dana must be done. Tapa, dana, yajna, all of it. All the certain things which are recommended in the Vedas. Why are they recommended? For our growth only, for our consciousness. But the yogi who is connected with the divine has transcended all of this also. He has transcended all. Means he's not belittling any of the shastras. Each of the shastra, when a person passes away, the body is laid in a particular direction, isn't it? That also has a shastra behind it. Why these many days? Why each set is done? It is said the body has to be aligned with the Earth's magnetic field. It helps in the forward movement. Then what is done? Then even the kakasparsha, feeding of the crow with something which the person, some food, anna, which the person desired a lot. So each of these, don't cook in your house at that particular time, do like this. All these are, helping the person believe also, the person who has lost. And it is also for the agrima gati or the movement, forward movement of the jivatman which is starting a journey. But yogi has transcended all of these rites also. It is said the kula of a yogi cannot be asked. Isn't it? What is your kula? Is it asked? No. Now there is one kula, Krishna. That is all. Or Krishna or any Aradhya, whatever name you say. It's a divine only. Yogi is meditating in the forest. Hasn't any yogi passed away while meditating in the forest? It must have happened somewhere. Yes, Aditi ji.
Yeah, they consciously leave the body.
Yeah, they consciously leave the body. But then nobody says that we have to do this Shraddha Kriya for this person. What happens then? Do they become Pishacha, Bhuta, Preta?
No.
No, isn't it? Obviously, it's not logical at all. It's for the attachment. So this person has already lost all attachments, isn't it? They are doing their own Shraddha already. And they are alive. Swaha. Everything has already been offered to the divine. Agneya Swaha Agneya Idan na Mama. The mama aspect is gone, so they have transcended, is what Krishna is saying. The merits are there in these deeds and rituals, of course. But the yogi, by virtue of being one with the divine, can transcend them also, is what Krishna is saying. With this, completes the 8th Adhyay. If anybody has any queries, you can say, after which, if related to this, if you have something to ask, you can ask, or else we can have a summary of today's session and conclude with a Shanti Mantra. Yes, please.
Sushruti,
Yes, sir.
sir, you were telling sometime back that the person who passes away during the Shukla Paksha during the daytime and he doesn't return, and the night somebody leaves the world, he returns. Could you please clarify it? It is applicable to both Uttarayana and Dakshinayana as well. This is my personal question.
No, okay. Yes, sir. Uttarayan period is considered it is understood that it is the period of moksha. Uttarayan period is said to be the period where the dwara is most open.
Okay.
But ultimately, who is the driver of the journey? It is the divine, isn't it?
Yes.
Yogi may have a say. That is a assumption that we are making. That a yogi may have a say in choosing. Means, but it is very interesting that Tukaram himself had talked about give me another birth, O Vithala, so that I can serve you again. But the experience of everybody in the village is that he got moksha through what we can say, he got a Sadeha Vaikunta is what it is believed. And those people who are there, the exact spot is also there where he's gone ahead. And these are all very crazy experiences. You must have heard of Ramalinga Swamigal or Valalar, Rameshji?
I've heard of it. I don't know much
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, he did something which is even now considered crazy. Dematerialization into light body. The Satya San Marga it is said to be the path. I mean, how is it possible? We do not know. Britishers were present to disprove this and dispel everything as superstition. But there they have written that he went into the room and he just dematerialized or disappeared. Nobody knows. I have been to that place and seen very closely, inspecting if there is a shortcut route outside from that room elsewhere. No, nowhere. People were all present. It was a full, what we can say, it was a in witness. All people saw him go in and nobody could find out where. Even now, that place is there. Sri Aurobindo talked about transformation of the physical body. Something similar to Vadalar, but that is dematerialization. Here it is supramental transformation. Their mrityu also is going to be eliminated if that transformation takes place. So these are just margas which they talk about. But probably yogi will be able to choose. Yes, Renuji wants to say something. Yes.
Yeah, similarly, I have heard about Sant Kabir also, that when he passed away, there were only flowers in his room, and the
Hmm.
Hindus and Muslims divided those flowers and did the last rites for him.
Ah.
His body was not there.
Ji. So these are all something interesting, and this is something which is not yet fully, understood by our rational science, which is trying to understand it. But since it is trying, maybe one day it will find the answer. All those who seek will find, isn't it? So maybe the science will also be able to describe it and they explain a phenomenon which our logical minds may be able to understand. But this is the thing. So as far as the moksha and punarjanma, that is probably best left into the hands of the divine. Many people feel, what will happen if I do this? What will happen if I do that? Sometimes people try to fool the divine. It's said if you have smaran of the divine in the last moments, you will get mukti. That is said in the Puranas. One of the reasons is it is teaching vairagya only, isn't it? When you have the smaran, you will not be worrying about, oh, this property this person should not take, or this person should not get a share. I don't like this man talking to me. He should not be present here. These are all thoughts of a mind which is disturbed. So they say, no, go into japa, go into this smarana, go into that. It is not for just like a rigid rule. Like there's a story also where one person thought he'll fool God. So he, all his life, he did a lot of corrupt practices, but he knew he was healthy, no problem. Suddenly one day he had some illness. He went to the doctor. Doctor said, you have very less time to live. Very less means very less. He said, okay, chalo, we have already done all the bhoga that we want. Let us fool the divine and start saying divine name just now. It was not sincerely done. It was just on the lips because somebody told you it should be on your lips. But it should be from the heart, isn't it? Chaitanya is what? It is consciousness. Otherwise, it's lip service. So he tries to show he's pious and he tries to keep saying the name that now I will literally interpret this Shastra and hold the divine accountable if it doesn't work. But unfortunately, what happens is in his last moment, because he has not fully entered into that consciousness of quietude and peace, his son comes and drops a vessel in front of him and he shouts, fool. Unfortunately, instead of the smarana, the last word is fool for him. So his prayanakala is not something we can control also. It is said prayanakala is controlled also by the divine. Yogis reach that point where they can summon a ichha mrityu, but it is not of fighting against the divine. It is in probably consultation with the divine, or they understand that and they are able to take that state. So Rameshji, I think there's these two margas which are Gita talks about the two margas only, Shukla Marga and Krishna Marga. One is the marga of return, one is the marga of no return. One way ticket, one is return journey booked.
Okay.
Ji sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you sir.
Dhanyavad.
Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad.
Yes. So if somebody can summarize what we saw today in short, so we can complete today's session with a Shanti Mantra. Anybody?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes, Ji.
The
Renu ji, you are trying.
yes, whole
Thank
thing
you.
which I understood, it started from the question of death by Arjuna to
Ji.
Krishna. So the crux of all this is constant remembrance.
Hmm.
If we are in constant remembrance with the divine, if we are in union with the divine, there is no any question of either coming back or the ticket is booked to the final destination.
Ji.
That has to be taken care by the divine for us.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And the only thing which we have to keep in mind is the complete union or oneness and seeing that omniscience and omnipresence of God in each and everything. In each and everything of our doing also, whatever I am doing, a little, or if either I'm active or inactive, in any case, I'm in constant touch with the divine. Then
It's
we don't,
practically possible, isn't it? It is practically possible, isn't it?
yes,
Worth
yes,
attempting also.
yes,
Yes.
it is possible. And it is possible because it has been done by our gurus in this human form. They have
Yes.
set examples for us.
But haven't they mostly been in sannyas life, not in practical life? People say, a lot of people feel a grihastha person will stop living, will cease to be a grihastha if he reads the Gita.
No, 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 not at all.
Not at all, isn't it? Gita is asking you to be like the Srimanta yogi, a rich sage, the sage like Janaka, who is doing all his duties. It's like a rose without the thorns, isn't it?
Yes, the home
Cannot
is
be
the
spoiled.
ground for all experiences, for all penances, everything. The
So,
home,
and the enjoyment also, bhoga also, no? Divya
yes,
bhoga.
yes,
The Divya Bhoga of what we call the Leela. Experience the Leela, experience the joy, the Chaitanya in your life instead of
yes.
getting trapped in Maya, isn't it? So that's the distinction only. All right. Ji. Yes, Ji.
Yoga
Please
with
continue.
all detachment, all
Yeah.
surrendering to the divine, whatever I am getting, good or bad. If
Yes.
we are in that state of condition, the God Himself will decide for our last journey where
Yes.
to go. This is all I just understood from this.
Beautifully summarized. Yes, Renuji. And indeed, if the divine wants this, can we have a different one? Say, no, I like this. No, it's not. The divine
That
knows us.
yes, that you usually speak about Sushma Swaraj. That what
Yeah.
it is my wish. That is God's
Krishna Prasad and Krishna Ichha.
Krishna Ichha.
If both these wishes are matching, we are going to enjoy it as Krishna Prasad. If they're not matching, also we'll try to enjoy as Krishna Ichha. Chalo,
Yes,
theek hai. Boss has asked me to come again. All
yes,
right, that's fine. Why will I say no? Why will I say no? Because I trust the reason must be very much, definitely an important one.
yes.
And
And we
that is, yes,
about all Krishna Paksha or Shukla Paksha, any of this. We have to do our duty, the simplest duty. We don't
yes,
have judge anybody. The
yes,
body is
yes.
living, it is according to the divine will. What-
Absolutely, absolutely, Reniti. Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. And that is why sometimes they find it very difficult. Means the sannyasa of a yogi and the vairagya of a janaka is sometimes very difficult to identify because outer garb will show. Sometimes there are outer garbs, which is the traditional garb of a sannyasi can give you the lakshana, isn't it? This person looks like this.
Yes,
But Janaka, even Narada was confused. Even Narada did not understand that this is the great Janaka who has already attained that. Because that is possible. Even about Shiva, it is said, Janma Janma Saha Yogi, Sansari Ananda Bhogi. Means birth, he takes births, he comes and he experiences Ananda. So should I call him Viragi or should I call him Bhogi? I don't know is what that prayer is about Shiva. And that prayer it talks about the divine being in front, divine being behind, and that God is watching me. That is the crux of the line. Majakade Deva Mata Pahato Ahe. My divine is watching me. That is the ananda of the composer. That he is watching me. That itself is sufficient. And he says, who is that? Is he a bhogi? Or is he a yogi? Is he viragi? Or is he completely engulfed and what we can say, and completely engrossed in the Srishti's working also? How is it? Well, I want to be like that, like that. So let us continue. Next adhyay is the ninth adhyay, which will begin. It is supposed to be the Raja Vidya. the high knowledge of some great realization, which Krishna is going to part to Arjuna. So we'll conclude with the Shanti mantra. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tatsat. Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. Jai Shri Krishna. Looking forward for tomorrow's session. If any queries are there, you are welcome, or I'll conclude the session. Hari Om. Namaskar.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna ji. Jai Shri Krishna ji. Namaskar. Yes. Yes, I'll conclude the session then.